Hi guys, it's album review time. We've got Blacktop, Mojo and Pollen. So this is an American hard rock band. This album was released today, so hopefully I'll be able to get this video out today, which is Friday the 5th of April. 11 tracks. Self-titled album came out in 2021. That's when I got into the band. That's what made me fall in love with the band. This is their 5th studio album. So does this live up to Blacktop Mojo, the self-titled album? Of course it does. It actually, the elements that I loved about Blacktop Mojo, the self-titled album, they've given me more of those on this album. And I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the tracks. But it's a little less heavier, I would say, than 2021 self-titled album. But I think that's where the band really are comfortable for me. I think that's where they're at their best. It's still heavy moments, of course. This is a hard rock band. But, you know, I think there's more to the sort of southern edge, which I love, coming out on this album. I feel like the songwriting's also improved since the last album. Although, you know, this is not a put down on Blacktop Mojo at all. I love that album, but I feel like they've upped the ante in the songwriting, which is the most important thing. There's not a lot of bands that hit you on an emotional level like Blacktop Mojo. They get me every time. They infuse sort of, if you talk about influences, it's quite hard because they've sort of lost, I think, some of they had a bit of a grunge influence way back, a little bit on the last album, you know, on a couple of tracks, and before that I think a little bit more, but they've almost lost that altogether. Probably all part from one track, I would say. But influences mainly across this, I would be talking, you know, Skinnerd, Molly Hatchet, a little bit of the, you know, the southern bands out there now like Blackberry Smoke and things like that. But they're a lot heavier than all of those bands. But man, I think this is one of my most anticipated albums of the year, and it just hasn't disappointed whatsoever. It's an amazing album throughout. It really is. I think Blacktop Mojo, along with a handful of other bands now, newer bands, they write songs that, you know, you're going to remember, you're going to listen to in years to come, 10, 20 years. That's what they write songs for, that you're going to love and you're never going to get tired. You know, like them songs we all listen to now from 30, 40 years ago. It seems like Blacktop Mojo write those songs that are classic. They seem classic already, and that, you know, in 30 years you'll be listening to it thinking, man, what a band these are, or were, you know, hopefully are. So let me run you through the guys in the band. We've got Matt James on vocals, man, one of my favourite vocalists. He just, man, you just sink into wherever you're sitting, you'll just sink into the chair listening to his vocals. I could listen to his vocals all day. Amazing, amazing tone to his vocals. Can sing anything. I absolutely love his vocals. You got Nathan Gillis on the drums, and you got Matt Curtis on the bass. These guys, you know, 5th album in, honed in, very, you know, very cool. There's lots of percussion going on as well, but it's a brilliant, brilliant rhythm section across this album. And you know, it's a rock band. So it just needs to be tight and let everything else breathe within the, you know, the album, and it really does that. They are great musicians. Then you've got two guitarists, Malcolm Buha and Ryan Kiefer. Remember, this is almost like a hard rock, rock and roll, southern rock sort of thing going on across this album. So, you know, very busy on the guitars, guitar driven totally throughout this album. You haven't got to worry about that. These guys are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to talk about my favourite tracks on the album. Kicking off the album is The End Is Gonna Come. So this is like a medium paced track. A surprisingly mild sort of start to the album. Well, in the verses anyway. You sort of got like a bit of a mild introduction to the album. There's a very cool bass line and sort of understated, distorted guitar, sort of back up Matt James. Almost like fragile vocal. I mean, the production on this album, let me get that right. I haven't really spoken about that, but there's so much clarity and punch to the production. I could feel the vulnerability in Matt James' vocals, which was obviously, you know, it was a vocal delivery that was done on purpose. It just sounds amazing. But then the more subdued vocals leads into a huge chorus that just pops out of the speakers. Songwriting, man, that is what it's all about, and this song is a great example of how much they've elevated their songwriting. I can't tell you how fucking good this track is. It's such an amazing start to the album, and it's only the start. Weary I Roam is the second track. That sort of southern edge the band lean into is sort of all over this track. A soulful rock track that just hits you right in every way possible. This is classic rock performed to the highest standard, where the band really managed to capture their sort of 70s influence perfectly. I love the chorus again. This album is full of great hooky choruses. There's sort of horns used to sort of really drive the point home. The next track I want to talk about is Please Don't Call. Wow, what a track. What a track. It's just a hint of southern edge, I would say, on the guitar riffs, but this song just gives you so much more. It's catchy as hell. It surprised me that this wasn't a single, actually, unless it's released today or it's going to be. The chorus is just huge. It invites you in with an irresistible groove. It's almost has sort of pop sensibilities, but with rock only in mind, if that makes sense. You know, like the melodies of the song, an infectious track on first listen. Red Enough is the next track I want to talk about. This was the first single that was actually released leading up to the this album coming out. I think this one really leans into sort of the tracks we've been treated to by Matt James's solo stuff. It has that southern edge again with an outstanding chorus. The guitars just ramp up in the chorus even more. This song, honestly, it had me so frustrated for one reason only, that why ain't this band headlining festivals? This song alone could do that. It's that fucking good. Next up we have Rise, and this features a guy called Nathan Hunt from Shaman's Harvest. Boy, a great album a couple of years back. What an amazing performance by both vocalists here. They are harmonising for most of the track actually, and their tones just work perfectly together. It's quite a mellow track actually. It really showcases the vocal prowess from both of these guys. I love the guitar solo as well. It almost gave me the emotion of a classic Skinner solo. Emotion runs right through this song actually. And it builds and builds and builds to an absolute epic conclusion. It's a great track. As the Light Fades is the next track. This was also a single. The band go full southern here, as they treat us to a song that you might hear from, you know, Blackberry Smoke or something like that. Great sort of female backing vocals just give it even more southern vibes. What a song. Blacktop Mojo just deliver whatever they turn their hand to. That's the thing they are brilliant at. Something's Changed is the next track I want to talk about, and oh man, Matt James just singing the blues. I mean, that's what this one's about. There's just something special about, you know, that the Tail Lights song on the self-titled album was probably my favorite song from that album. Amazing stuff, and it had that blues element, but man, that was more of a sort of a love song. But this one is just full on blues. He just sounds so comfortable as the band sort of match his emotion by introducing Hammond organ and some horns and guitar work. Amazing song. Next track I want to talk about is Should Have Gone to Sleep. This is a ballad, another track that feels like it should be all over the fucking radio. If only radio played the bands that we really wanted to hear. This one really hits hard as we get sort of acoustic led parts that make the heavier parts hit even harder. The songwriting, like I've mentioned lots of times, has somehow come up such a notch since the last album. I know you Blacktop Mojo fans will be thinking, you know, you putting down self-titled album. No, not at all. That's what got me into this band. I love this band, but it's gone up a notch, and that's what you want every time an album comes out. This song in particular is where Blacktop Mojo, for me, hit hardest. Next track I want to talk about is Born to Lose. And again, the band sort of give that light and shade. They use that light and shade brilliantly. What starts as somewhat of a ballad sort of quickly gets heavy when the band crash in with a real heavy riff and an absolute peach of a chorus that have you just reaching for the volume button. Amazing stuff. My favourite solo of the album as well, sort of slide guitar solo, fits perfectly with the song. You get sort of two parts to it. It comes in at the end as well. Amazing song. And that brings us to the last track, sadly, Like Wild Horses. A single, again, Matt James and an acoustic guitar. What better way to sort of conclude, yes, one of the albums of the year. I love the keyboard touches that add an element that you never thought you would want to hear until you hear it. It's just brilliant, that real 70s sort of sound. I could listen to this track all fucking day. It's got so much emotion, and all within 4 minutes of the song. All my expectations have been succeeded. It's just amazing. I really want to hear it right now. That's how an album should be. You know, you want to hear it again and again and again. You won't be disappointed. Blacktop Mojo are one of the best bands out there. Get Pollen now. Let me know if you are in the comments below, please, guys. And I'll see you soon.